If it's your first time making hot cocoa bombs, I like to take my mold and I cut it apart. So I just use my scissors and I trim round, leaving enough of an edge so that I can still handle it. I find it's easier to work with one little mold than try to do 6 at one time. Next, we'll want to get our candy canes ready. So what you're going to do is you're just going to remove all the wrappers and then put them into a Ziploc bag. Then you're going to want to grab something heavy like a hammer or a rolling pin, and we're going to break these down into little pieces. They don't have to be teeny tiny pieces, just enough to fit inside the hot cocoa bomb and give it a nice minty flavor. We're going to pour our peppermint pieces into a small bowl to get them ready and easily to use. We're going to do the same with the sprinkles, and we're going to open up our hot cocoa packets and we're going to put those in a bowl as well. Next, you want to take your microwave safe bowl and you're going to open up the bright white candy wafers and you're going to put a little less than half of a bag in. Then you're going to put that in the microwave and melt it for 20-second intervals, stirring in between until it's nice and smooth and melty. You don't want to melt it too long. Take a spoon, take a big dollop of that melted candy wafer and put it into your mold. Then you're going to take your hands and just move them back and forth on the bottom of the mold to get out any air bubbles. It's hard to see on camera, but you will see little air bubbles popping in there. Then I just go back with my spoon again. I make sure that it's thick around the edges. Those sides are going to be what holds this together, and you don't want to see any red mold underneath. So once it's all smoothed out and looks nice, and I know that it's thick all the way around, I'm going to set it aside and move on to the next. What we did is we made 3 white shells, and then we will be moving on to the red. There's extra white candy melt left and we're going to need it later. So what I do is I turn the top of an icing bag inside out. Then I'm holding the cone with my hand and I'm going to use my spatula and just scrape this leftover into the bag so that we can use it later. Now we're going to move on to our red candy melts. This time you don't need quite as many as the white because we don't need any left over to put in that icing bag. So you're going to put, again, a little less than half a bag, a little less than you used last time. Heat that up in 20-second intervals in the microwave, stirring in between just until it gets smooth and melty. Now we're going to do that exact same process we did with the white shells with the red shells. And this time we are also making 3. So pop out any air bubbles. Then you're going to set them aside. I do like to pop mine in the fridge and let them sit for just a little bit so I can make sure they are completely hard all the way through before I take them out of the molds. After the shells have hardened, you can take them out of the shells and I just set them aside. Now I'm going to get 3 of my cupcake liners ready and I'm going to take a microwave safe plate and put it in the microwave for 1 minute. So it's nice and toasty, and then I'm going to put the white shell edges right down on that plate till it gets nice and smooth and melty. I add a tablespoon of cocoa, a tablespoon of peppermint, and then I'm going to get my mini marshmallows and put a little handful of those in. Then I'm going to melt the edges of the red shell, and then I'm going to place these 2 together. And then I'm going to set it aside in my cupcake liner and let that harden. And I'm going to repeat the process with the other 2 cocoa bombs. So a tablespoon of cocoa, tablespoon of peppermint, and then a handful of marshmallows, melt and put together. Do this for the last one as well. Now grab your icing bag with the white candy melts in and cut the tip off. If you need to microwave it a little, go right ahead. So these first two, what we did is we put the candy wafer around the outside in the middle there to hide that seam, and then rolled it in sprinkles. So we did 2 of them like this. I thought this was a fun, different look. So you have sprinkles all around the middle. I'm going to do this with 1 more of these balls. So I'm going to go around the middle with my icing bag. This time I went around the whole thing, and then I just rolled it in those Christmas sprinkles. For this one, I decided to go more of a traditional route, and I took my icing bag and I just went back and forth with the white candy melt across the top and sprinkled those Christmas sprinkles on. Then what you're going to want to do is set these aside and let that candy melt and sprinkles harden. And once you're done, you can open up your treat bags, put it 1 in each treat bag, and then you're going to tie it off. I used a little bit of red twine that I had at home, and I just tied a little bow. These make amazing gifts. Everyone loves them, and they taste so good with the mint. You can also switch it up and try some different flavors if you want, and there should be extra candy melt, so you should be able to make another 3, 4, or even 5 cocoa bombs